Hello, women on Facebook Live and on YouTube. Right now, I have this video for only me because I didn't want people joining in. And you'll see why in a minute, because some people might be joining in thinking that I'm doing a teaching about the word of truth. And they might be thinking, oh my goodness, what is this, Robin? And so I am a minister. I have a bachelor's and master's in social work, a Juris Doctorate, a law degree, as well as a health and wellness certification from AAFPA, America's Fitness Association. And so I care about women's health, and especially being in a time and a season where I've gone through much change with hormones and just learning and navigating that area, as well as continued education with myself on my own, as well as continuing education with my AFPA health and wellness certification every 2 years. And so a couple years ago, I got into the gut microbiome in relation to that with AFPA and continuing education to get my recertification. And I saw one comment, and in the comment, it mentioned that there was a really brilliant book out called Psychobiotic Revolution. And I've actually got it in my car because I've been reading it again in my car, but I'm getting the name of the authors up in relation to that. And I got that book and I really learned a lot. And so Psychobiotic Revolution is written by two co-authors, John F. Cryan and Ted Dennen. And one is a PhD, John F. Cryan, and Ted Dennen is an MD, PhD, and also Scott Anderson as well. I think Scott Anderson was the main spearhead of Psychobiotic Revolution. And so it shows you the gut microbiome and the gut-brain axis, the vagus nerve, and the relation and importance on what is in the gut in relation to the brain and how it affects the entire body. And so one of the things that I did over the last couple of years is share on different occasions videos on specific probiotics and prebiotics that I used in the research I had done, educating people and informing them to go to their physician and talk to them about it. And so lately, as I have now a different lens in which to view the gut microbiome, having my hormones whacked permanently, trying to navigate that to get the perfect recipe, which I feel is 3/4 done, and I just need that last quarter, but we'll see. And just listening and getting education and wisdom, asking God for wisdom and the further education that needs to be done in research. And so as I was going through last week, at the end of the week, I just felt a tug on my heart. Hey, Robin, you know that lactobacillus reuteri that affects your oxytocin that you used to take? And I'm thinking, yes, get it, get back on it. I'd gotten off of it for a while, and then I got back on it over the weekend. And oh my goodness, just the relaxed state that I feel is absolutely amazing. It is amazing. And so you see my pillow in the back of my chair in the back. I've got my little lamb's pillow that I keep with me for my back support. And so you'll see that in the background, just FYI. So at any rate, I did another video today about the lactobacillus reuteri and how it works in the small intestine to create oxytocin. And I want to revisit that. But this specific video, and I'm pulling up lactobacillus reuteri and oxytocin, there it is. This particular video is going to be about women's health, and it's going to be about women's organs. And so if you don't want to hear it, please tune out. I am very conservative about my videos because I'm mindful that younger people are on my wall. And so I try to make my Facebook platform, YouTube video platform, friendly for 8 years old, even 8-year-olds, where they can come on and get information and learn about the Lord and learn about the sciences that God has created, where they can see that the invisible God shows himself in the visible realm. And so at any rate, I just preface that I try to be very, very, very conservative. And in being very conservative, this information, although I feel uncomfortable bringing it to you because I have to use female organ words, which I don't feel comfortable using, especially on a public platform, but because this information is so critical and vital and unknown, I want to use my platform to bring this information to help women. And so I'm going to be talking about Lactobacillus reuteri. I actually put mine up, but let me go back into the kitchen and get my Lactobacillus reuteri. And so I've cleaned the pots, and so the pots are all on there. You see my pink water filter. And so here, let me get this out, is the Lactobacillus reuteri. I'll bring it out again for you guys, as I did earlier on my morning video. And so here is the Lactobacillus reuteri, and this is by Tonique. Again, not all Lactobacillus reuteri are created equal in my experience. This is the biggest potent Lactobacillus reuteri that I've experienced, by Toniq, Tonique. It is on Amazon, FYI. You can order it today and you will get it tomorrow. And so scientists have discovered oxytocin is produced in the small intestine, and that its secretion is mediated by the gut bacterium, which is Lactobacillus reuteri, and they call it Limocilla Lactobacillus reuteri, but L. reuteri. And so again, oxytocin, the trust hormone, the love hormone, is produced in the small intestine, and its secretion is mediated by the gut bacterium. And just FYI, and so I did a video earlier, but I purposefully left some of this information out just because as I was looking at it while I'm doing the video live, I did not feel comfortable in that particular video doing, okay, the area in regards to the female organ, which is the vagina, because the Lactobacillus reuteri helps with that as well. And so I'm going to read the stuff that I did not read and bring you information and deductions that I have after doing research and observing it, and now just being able to deduce by logic in relation to the Lactobacillus reuteri and female health, and how it helps with female health. So what I was reading earlier was probiotics.org, where I did my last video on Lactobacillus reuteri, and that particular website that does L. reuteri and what they put out, the things that I did not read on what benefits reuteri has is where it says reduces vaginal candida, basically. Reduces vagina pH. And so those were the two things that I did not mention, although I saw them again just because I felt uncomfortable on that video putting it out there. But now, because of talking and coaching with people today and just information the Lord's given me, things make sense. I knew that as women have hormonal changes, that their gut bacteria changes. So one of the big issues with women in menopause and perimenopause is that your gut bacteria changes. Hence, a lot of other things change. Brain health in all the areas of your gums, your teeth, your organs. I mean, just so many things change. But I want to specifically address the female organ, the vagina. And again, I want to give this information because from my perspective, this is critical. This is vital. It is unknown, in my opinion. And this information cannot get out there enough. And so I want to do, in relation to Lactobacillus reuteri, now I want to do oxytocin and menopause. And just to let you know, and I've written about this in my book, Rev 22.2, which is on Amazon, as I start out that book with oxytocin, which is also a hormone and a neurotransmitter. So it differentiates. It can be a neurotransmitter, which is a neuromodulator and act on the G protein coupled receptor, or it can operate as a neurotransmitter. And so when we're looking at oxytocin, it is responsible for lactation, which is also another thing I did not read, even though I wrote about it in the book, Rev 22.2. It is responsible at initiating milk coming from a mother's breast into her baby. It is responsible for initiating the labor contractions and the labor process. Oxytocin goes up. That means it's time for contractions. It's time for the baby. So as oxytocin, the trust hormone, the love hormone goes up, that helps with anxiety, that helps with emotion. And when do you need it? Hello, women. When do you need to not be anxious? When do you need to have a good mental state? When do you need to have a good emotional state? When you're in labor. When you're experiencing all this pain and like all this craziness, especially if you're a new mother and you've never experienced any of this, oh my goodness, you need some oxytocin. But oxytocin is a trust love hormone, and so it also increases in the baby. And all this is in my book, Rev 22.2 at the beginning. And so when the baby's born, the trust love hormone, and they see the mom and connect with the mom, and the mom's trust love hormone, and also science has proven, I have this written in the book, is Rev 22.2 as well, is that the father's oxytocin, even though he didn't give birth, it is at the same level as the mother's. That is just phenomenal to me. Only God. And so oxytocin is that, oh, I love them. I feel so good. They are just amazing. Oh, thank you, God. I am so blessed. And that oxytocin hormone is going off when you have fellowships and friendships and connections, and you're connecting in that small space and you're together, oxytocin goes up. And so oxytocin is the trust and the love hormone. And so it can be deficient because some people are deficient in Lactobacillus reuteri in their gut. And if you're deficient with Lactobacillus reuteri, then it recommends supplementation. And with that supplementation, then the oxytocin in the small intestine is mediated because of this Lactobacillus reuteri. And again, this is tonique, and I'll put that in the comments as well. And so I want to get into this specific thing with Lactobacillus reuteri in relation to the issue with now oxytocin and menopause. This is real good information. So oxytocin and menopause. Now let me pull it up because I actually X'd out of it. So oxytocin and menopause. Now this is going to blow your mind, and it's going to, you'll see where my logic is coming from and what's going on. And now you see the connection. And I'm so glad that God told me to get back on these and how important it is for vaginal health, because women, we do have that. And so we want to be at the optimal level of health, because what affects your gut affects your entire body. And again, I mentioned a whole host of benefits of Lactobacillus reuteri that are phenomenal. It's mouth health, low cavities, great gums, little plaque. It is getting rid of H. pylori, preventing H. pylori from ever happening, helping the immune system in relation to flus, colds, viruses, all of that. That is great information to have. But today, for this video, specifically, this second video about Lactobacillus reuteri, I want to address vaginal health, and especially female hormones. And you're going to see the connection, and you're going to boom, oh my goodness, I can see it. And so here it says, when I do in Google, I do oxytocin and menopause. Watch this. It says oxytocin, often referred to as a love hormone, plays a significant role during menopause. Ding, ding, ding. Affecting emotional well-being and as well as overall quality of life. And it does mention sexual health as well. It says the role of oxytocin during menopause. Now watch this, because this is wild. During menopause, the levels of various hormones, including estrogen, decline. This hormonal shift can lead to a decrease in oxytocin production, which is linked to emotional and physical health. So just stop right there. Just, hello, put the brakes on. Oh my goodness, what? So a decrease in estrogen means, ding, 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 a decrease in, guess what, oxytocin. Why? Because obviously the lactobacillus reuteri is being affected in the gut. So the small intestine is not producing mediating the oxytocin, because there has to be a decline in the lactobacillus reuteri. So with emotional well-being, and we'll get into sexual health, and I'm not talking about anything in relation to that other than the organ and what it does with the organ and what is needed as information, because you'll see how critical this is going to get, because I am going to get into what can be vaginal atrophy, to where the vaginal has atrophy. And so what does that mean? Let me look at vaginal atrophy and get the definition of exactly what it means. It is several, let's see, is known as atrophic vaginitis, a condition characterized by the thinning, drying, and inflammation of vaginal walls, primarily due to decrease in estrogen levels, often occurring after menopause. Okay, so hello. It says the vagina thins, it becomes dry, and the walls get inflamed. Why? Because there's a drop in estrogen. Well, let's go back to what it said about oxytocin, that oxytocin decreases when estrogen decreases. So there's a connection in the gut microbiome. So let's look further as I give you more information. And so in regards to hormonal changes, we're still going through all of this because it's necessary to have more of this information. Oxytocin with menopause. It says oxytocin is known to foster feelings of connection and reduce stress. So part of your mood swings are not just the deficiency of acetylcholine operating as that #1 neurotransmitter for the brain that helps with that sympathetic nervous system to be relaxed and to have acetylcholine signaling and enough, sorry, it's pausing, and enough acetylcholine signaling, which means that we have to take in choline. And I recommend Body Bio in relation to getting information on and talking to your doctor about Body Bio PC phosphatidylcholine. It's on Amazon. I take the gel form, and a gel, like a gel liquid capsule, and that combines with acetate in the neuron to create in the nucleus acetylcholine, the #1 neurotransmitter. And as estrogen decreases, guess what decreases? Acetylcholine. So I've done a whole other video on that. So you've got acetylcholine decreasing that helps keep you in that sympathetic nervous system state where you're relaxed and you're not on a stress state on norepinephrine. but you're relaxed and you have enough acetylcholine to keep you in that relaxed state. Well, also you've got a decrease of oxytocin. So oxytocin is known to foster feelings of connection and reduce stress. Lower levels during menopause can lead to increased feelings of isolation and mood disturbances, exacerbating symptoms like anxiety and depression. So benefits of oxytocin and mood regulations. Research indicates that higher levels of oxytocin may help buffer mood disturbances caused by hormonal changes and sleep disruptions during menopause. This suggests that oxytocin could play a protective role in maintaining emotional stability. Enhancing relationships by social and emotional bonding. You have that oxytocin letting you know that you have that great relationship and you can have that experience in just sharing fellowships and conversations, hugging each other and just loving each other and having that time that God allows for us to feel that joy of relationship. And so it's beneficial in those areas of talking, having conversations, fellowships, and just being connected even with your spouse, also with your children as well. And so in having that engagement with your children and enjoying those friendships as they get older. And so strategies to increase oxytocin, they say, are physical touch and social connections, which of course that helps. But also as we look at in relation to oxytocin, that it is instigated, mediated by lactobacillus reuteri. Lactobacillus reuteri in the gut, in the small intestine. I immediately feel just so relaxed and less stressed taking this. I'm sensitive. I can feel it immediately with Tonique. I've tried other brands. There's just no comparison. And so I'm going to do one last thing in relation to oxytocin and menopause in relation to the vagina. And I'm just going to read you what is on Google. Oxytocin, often referred to as a love hormone, plays a significant role in the reproductive system, also known as potential benefits during menopause. So again, I wrote about in Rev 22, that book, oxytocin, how it induces labor contractions and also for breast milk. It says that in menopause, oxytocin deficiency may lead to symptoms such as vaginal dryness, a lower sex drive. Oxytocin is produced in the hypothalamus and released in the bloodstream by the pituitary gland. It is secreted when the neurons in the hypothalamus are excited, stimulating your uterine muscles to contract and help with childbirth, which I mentioned earlier. That's when they produce prostaglandins to aid in the contraction. So oxytocin is powerful in that and delivering blood flow also to the vagina and sexual organs. And it is essential for the area in which women have delivery and labor delivery. That's what helps with the contraction. Oxytocin deficiency can affect the vagina. It can affect with lubrication. It can affect libido. It can lead to atrophy, vaginal atrophy. Oxytocin has been clinically studied to improve symptoms so that there is no atrophy, there is no thinning of the wall. And so in relation to, and this is the last area where I'll do about that atrophy, because that is so important in relation to getting critical information, because I see women out there and they're just about the hormones, estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. Well, the hormone oxytocin is just as important. We see that it helps with mood and that it helps with vaginal health. It helps with that so that women are not in this place of discomfort and in pain. So think about this. Think about this recipe of feeling like really insane. So everything changes. Your hormones are whacked. Estrogen declines. And then all of a sudden, your oxytocin is gone out the window and you're wondering, what is wrong with me? And then you're having this feeling of isolation, and you feel like there's no connection. And it's not that people aren't connecting with you. It's just that you don't have that oxytocin in your members for you to be able to feel that connection and be able to reciprocate it. And so you're just dry emotionally. And so you're having to put more effort into that. And on top of that, areas in your organs are just going crazy. Your brain doesn't have as much acetylcholine because that's estrogen driven. Then your organs are having issues because your eyes need estrogen for elasticity. Your bones and your muscles need estrogen for bone health and muscle health. And so you feel like your muscles are wasting, your bones are getting brittle. And then on top of that, with this vaginal atrophy because of the decrease in estrogen, that causes a decrease in oxytocin because it changes the gut microbiome. And so there's less lactobacillus reuteri. Now it says you can also have burning, itching, spotting, and pain when you're having sex that are common symptoms, as are frequent urination and urinary tract infections. Are you glad? If you're a woman, are you glad that I brought you this information? If you need it, I know you're glad. If you don't need it, maybe you might want this information in the future. And so here, if your lining thins and gets drier, it leads to itching, burning, and pain. And so it leads to urinary tract infections. And it occurs during perimenopause and menopause. Are you glad you tuned into this video? When your ovaries produce less estrogen, and it can occur, and you may experience uncomfortable symptoms with hormone levels changing. And so, saints, this is just information. I think it's critical for women's health. And I pray that you're blessed today. And if you know other women that could benefit from this video, please send it to them. Thank you. And have a good day.